Draft Bros.
What is going on? Welcome to Draft Bros episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about the 2024 cornerback class. I am joined today, of course, by my host, Broshmo. Give him a what's up.
What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy, Broshmo, just in case you did not know so. And I'm excited. I love the cornerback position. It's my favorite position to evaluate. And I think we got a really good class here.
Yes. No, I totally agree. It's going to be awesome. We do have a pretty similar top 5, but there is quite a bit of discrepancy in there. We have a couple of our own little We have our own little guys that we have our little love affairs over, and we're gonna definitely have some fun talking about them.
Everything's little with you, Alex.
That is not true. However, moving on. Cornerback is one of my favorite positions. They're great as well. If you guys have been following me over at Hail Mary Sports, of course, you can follow Broshmo at Broshmo. You guys have already probably followed us anyway. But you guys know I have my very strong opinions on corners. It's probably the one position where I have the most passion for the player. So when it came to Sauce Gardner, Joey Porter Jr., those are the guys who I randomly have extremely high, and I'm willing to put them 1 or 2. This year might breed a similar aspect with some of these players. So let's get into this. Number 5, I'll just kick it off because I know that you have a guy who I want you to take the pedestal for, who I have at 4. And that's Jason Marshall Jr. So he's about 6 feet, 6'1", 197 pounds, Florida DB. Really, he uses his size very well. I think my big issue with him is that he over relies on physicality, and you get to see him he overextends a lot. I see that as his tush is pushed out. He's just really awkward. Sometimes that leads to a poor change of direction. It's a very solid athlete overall, but I feel like he lacks the finesse of the position. But still, that size, that frame, incredible. And then he still has some god tier coverage plays. And I think overall, he's going to be a really good player. 8 pass breakups last year as well.
Yeah, I think you actually hit the nail on the head with his struggles. He doesn't know entirely how to use his hands. He's a man of 2 extremes. Mm-hmm. Either I'm going to go with blatant pass interference, or I'm just too scared to even touch the wide receiver. It's kind of like a Goldilocks situation.
Yeah.
These hands are they're too physical. Not enough hands on this one entirely. So he doesn't have that happy little medium. He hasn't really learned how to consistently use his hands discreetly, so to speak. But yeah, I think for the most part, we kind of agree on this player. I think he's got a pretty high upside. And actually, the players I have right behind him, the 2 others, which we'll probably talk about at the end of the video.
Yes.
I think are in kind of the same boat, same tier, so to speak.
Yeah, I have a very similar grade on a couple other players after as well. So I think we're both on track with the fact that this class overall is very, very talented. There's not a ton that separates a very big portion of the class, but I think we have a couple of those players that we really did fall in love with, which is why we're going to be going from our 5 to our number 1. And then we're going to mention some extra guys after. Forgot to mention that earlier. But is Jason Marshall also your number 5?
Yes.
So on the same page there, who's your number 4?
It is Dwight McGlothern. McGlove, apparently, is what they call him there at in Arkansas, I guess.
Yeah.
But he was originally went to LSU and played 6 games in 2021, decided to transfer, or he played in 10, only started 6, decided to transfer after the season, start every game last year, made second team all SEC, and there's a lot to love about him, man. He's got the size at 6'2", 190, good length, just desirable traits, or desirable physical frame, desirable, physical traits for an outside cornerback. I think he can make up ground real quick once lost because, again, he's taller. He's got longer strides. He's got really good ball skills, 4 interceptions, 11 pass breakups last season. He was actually formerly a receiver in high school. So no kidding, you better have ball skills, or at least better than most corners do. I think he's got powerful hands. He's kind of got that peanut punch to him, whether it's at the catch point or if it's as a tackler. I think he had 2 forced missed tackles last season, or 2 forced fumbles last season. There we go.
There we go.
He actually had one on Judkins in the Ole Miss game, where Judkins was like so close to being like, okay, no forward momentum. We're going to blow the play dead. Stinking McGlothern comes in there and just like, nah, this is mine. I loved it. Loved it. He does get too handsy sometimes, 10 penalties last season. But I mean, that's kind of his game, man. He's got to lay hands on you. He's kind of the Richard Sherman. Hey, you're only as fast as I'm willing to let you be, because I'm about to throw hands. That's just how he does things. I would like to see him be more of a sure tackler, kind of a nitpick, because honestly, for me, tackling is not a big thing when I look for when I look into corners. Like, are they good run stuffers? It's a passing league. I want to know, are they good in coverage? And McGlothern is that he's a little clunky and change of direction. This is probably where you want to kind of like, you could probably talk about how he is not I don't want to say he's an undesirable athlete. He's just not a high-end athlete.
It's fair. So he's my number 4 as well. And I know, kind of crazy, right? But he doesn't know my top 5. I know his, but it's actually pretty entertaining to be able to see where we have quite a few similarities here. But I wanted him to be able to go off because he was the one who found him. Got to give credit to Broshmo. He was the guy who brought him up first. Of course, I started scouting the corner class a little bit later, so you never know if it could have been by chance. But regardless, still a really talented corner. My first line of my scouting report on him, based on my overall impressions, was he could be a top 10 corner in the NFL if he is more into off man. I think that he's the best off man coverage corner I've ever seen. But
yeah, he closes quick.
Yeah, he closes quick. He's very decisive when he's an off man. I think the issue comes because we were talking about earlier, undesirable athlete. I think he second guesses himself a lot. He got toasted actually quite a few times because of the fact once he started trying to be a little more decisive, he guessed incorrectly. So that definitely is where I feel like he's going to struggle the most. I don't feel like he's very good in terms of zone coverage either. So I really am a bit concerned overall about his gameplay in terms of what he's going to be able to do with the lack of athleticism. But, you see the tape, you see what the upside could be. Really, really good against pass breakups. He's really good ball skills in that aspect. But we'll see what happens.
Honestly, I think he would be a good, like a quarters or cover 3 guy.
Yes.
Because he does have that like straight line speed.
Yes. I don't think that I wouldn't want him in cover 2. I don't want him covering a specific spot. I want him to be able to cover a sideline, so to speak. And I think that's going to be excellent for him. That's the only type of zone coverage where I'd feel comfortable, is where he's more so covering a stretch of field rather than a portion of the field, if you get what I'm saying. So I'm going to go to my number 3 guy, Denzel Burke. I know that he's not going to be in your top 5. I fell in love with Denzel.
Spoiler alert, dude. Just throwing it out there. It's not like I made a whole cornerback video yet.
Oops. But
it's fine.
Yeah, I know. Denzel Burke is somebody who I fell in love with. He obviously had a struggle, and he's notorious for his fall off after his strong freshman year. But what really stood out to me is the fact that he rebounded. He ended up, as I wanted to focus very heavily on that Georgia game, he rebounded very well. He still had a lot of fluidity to him. I think he's still working on becoming confident. And coming off an injury, sometimes you're not physically confident enough to make the cut that you need to, because you're still nursing the injury. You're still getting back to 100%, because you're, instead of taking extra 3-4 weeks to get 100% and then playing, you're still playing at 90, 92, 94%. And maybe guys get a little bit scared there. That's obviously speculation, but I do believe he's an excellent athlete. He does show some really good field awareness. And overall, he's a damn good player. We've seen it in his freshman year. Took a little bit of a fall off, but again, I got to see that progression to get back towards where he was a year ago. Hopefully, injuries don't derail his career. I don't think they will, but for now, he's going to be my corner number 3.
Yeah, there's always that caveat, because I think his senior year was closed out by a shoulder injury, and he went into this spring camp with a shoulder injury. He had the finger issue at the beginning and through most of the year, because that was something you were saying. I was or you said that, his Georgia game was really impressive. I was he was starting to look healthy at the end of the year. He literally just missed it. I kind of have him in that same tier as a Jason Marshall. Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I have him just one tier above, but I mean, it's still a minute gap. We're talking about, on my scale, 1.75 difference, which is noticeable. But I mean, again, that's because of how good of an athlete Denzel Burke is compared to someone like Dwight McGlothern, who's not nearly the type of athlete. So that's where athleticism, to me, I weight it very much heavier. And, I think Denzel Burke's a little bit more versatile because of the fact that he can have the athleticism to fit multiple systems and just work on his refinement rather than kind of cover up for his failures in terms of athleticism. But who is your number 3?
Well, we're going to go back to guys that aren't high-end athletes. And Kalen Keene out of Penn State, former 4-star recruit. He actually has a brother on the team, Kobe Keene. So, fun fact. Don't know if Kobe Keane's going to be a good prospect, but I can tell you about Kalen Keene. Yeah. He last year was his first year of actual starting experience. Started 9 games, made second team, all Big Ten. And I just like how he plays the position a ton. Like he plays with the appropriate physicality. He knows how to be discreet with his hands. He has great instincts. He's consistently just throwing his body around, whether it's like coming up in the run game, like just coming downhill with a head of steam. He just wants to put himself in the action, and he did that. 3 interceptions, 9 pass breakups, did that in coverage. Love that. I think he clicks and closes really quickly, just reads and reacts well. Just there's a lot to like about him. I think he can be a fluid athlete, like underneath in like the short area stuff, but doesn't have the ideal launch speed. Just not a high end athlete compared to where you would want it, or where like compare like if it was like we're talking like a top 10, top 20 guy, that athleticism just isn't there. So like still a good athlete. I'm not saying crap athlete. Dude can't move. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you're looking for these top notch guys, like you talk about like Derek Stingley, who was just a phenomenal athlete at LSU and such. Like he's just not that level of athlete. There are times he does play tall when giving cushion, because sometimes Penn State they'll ask their defenders to play like 7-10 yards off the line of scrimmage. But he'll be a bit tall, and just you don't want to play tall, like especially in your back pedal, because then you're just not gonna. If you want to like transition, like turn, you're not gonna be able to do that very efficiently. And actually going downhill, like if you're coming down tall, like you're not going to be able to get that necessary explosiveness to come downhill. So just seeing him maybe sink a little bit lower, more consistently would go a long way. And I will say there is a want to play physical. However, at 5'11", so a little shorter, 191, doesn't necessarily always end up well. There's a want to play physical there, but there are times where he will struggle to disengage from bigger receivers, or he will get put out on his back. But I don't mind it as long as he's got that dog in him.
I'm going to completely disagree with you on a couple points. So one, obviously I actually just concluded my Kalen King study a couple hours ago. So for me, I fell in love with Kalen King. He is my number 2 corner. So just jumping the gun right there. Might as well talk about my number 2 guy.
Go ahead. Talk about your number 2 guy. We'll come back to your number 3.
We already did Denzel Burke.
Oh, then never mind.
See, smooth transition, right? Smooth transition. We're getting better. I think Kalen King, I got to see him run pretty much stride for stride with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that his long speed is perfectly adequate. And
it's not like Marvin Harrison. He's not like
he's not a 4.3 guy. No, I'm saying like we're talking about Kalen King being like a 4.4 to 4.48 guy. Like we're not talking about the elite.
I don't think he's going to come close to the low 4.4s.
So what do you think? He's going to be 0.02 seconds slower? Like,
well, I'm thinking even if he breaks, like if he gets under 4.5, it's going to be like 4.48. 4.4.
So are you saying that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a 4.48 to 4.5 guy because he kind of kept up with him every single rep?
I could see Marvin Harrison Jr. being in the like 4.45, 4.48 range.
Okay. So
yeah, in terms of long speed.
I'm still giving him
a bigger guy anyway. Those guys are going to move a little slower.
So I said actually my first quote is 4.45 to 4.55. And then I refined it as I watched Marvin Harrison. So I agree with you. I'm like in that 4.45 range. Obviously you say it's more 4.48. Who really cares? I mean, it's literally 3/100ths of a second.
We're nitpicking.
I literally can blink and we're at 100th of a second. So, we're again nitpicking right there. I guess we're just using different terminology because I think that's perfectly fine for a corner. As long as you're sub
that's
4.5.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's why I got this guy as a first round grade. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
So for me, I have him as a significant tier. I have him and then obviously both of our number ones in a tier above everybody else, if not 2 tiers. I think Kalen King, in terms of his field awareness, is unbelievable. You can just see when you watch a player play zone coverage, you can tell if they're covering a spot where they're basically told to go to a specific spot and just kind of like hover around the area versus they're commanding the field. It's just a different type of confidence they exude when they're moving in space. Kalen King has that. On the first rep that I actually saw of him in zone coverage versus Ohio State, he was actually told to cover a deep third in the middle. And he actually recognized that there was a mess up on his own side. And he bailed out of his. And even though the catch was made, he still made a play before the ball was even thrown because he recognized the fact that there was a massive mistake. That was not on his part. He immediately bailed to the middle. So it was a mistake on his teammates. I love seeing that. I may have a thing for Penn State DBs. I was a Joey Porter Jr. guy last year. And I'm going to be a Kalen King guy this year. And I was notorious for not liking Kalen King because I just love Joey Porter Jr. But I still think Kalen King, as 1 tier below him, still badass. I love Kalen King. He's, again, we've already talked about the physicality aspect. I mean, this dude's able to blow up play after play after play. We talk about his ball skills, but his tackles for loss are probably going to be incredible as well. And he's able to put the boom. I saw him plant, I believe, Julian Fleming on his ass multiple times. He may be planted, but he's still willing to plant other guys. I love that.
I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying there are times where the lack of size will show up.
I don't even think that's true, though. I mean, we're talking about Devon Witherspoon or Devin Witherspoon last year. He's 5'11" or 5'10", 180.
Yeah,
we're seeing how great of a
played with like reckless abandonment, but like
still this guy's an extra 10 pounds.
He's going to be the most like consistent tackler. Like
he has the same size
you can blow up a play in the backfield. You could hit the running back or the wide receiver when they're not looking. That doesn't make you a good tackler.
He is only outweighed in terms of the top guys by Kool McKinstry by a couple pounds. Jason Marshall, which Jason Marshall's a big ass dude.
Yeah,
Josh
Newton. This guy's got like an extra 2 inches. They got more frame to put on more weight.
But he's more condensed. So I feel like that's going to be better. I'd trust a guy who's 5'10",
running back.
Yeah, we're just talking about running backs at this point. But I mean, I just love Kalen King. Great player. I think his change of direction is actually the best in the class. I think that he's just super fluid, even being able to see him at high speeds, be able to make turns. I think his biggest issue is that confidence aspect. And a lot of these corners in this class do lack that dedication and that determination to make the cut when they feel comfortable. And it's a first-year corner. It's going to be changing. So you can go on to your number 2 guy.
Yeah. So does this mean you don't have Cooper DeJean?
No. Cooper DeJean's number 8 on my board.
Oh. Ooh,
I do not like Cooper DeJean. I like as Cooper a corner. DeJean. Yeah, I mean, you like guys who can't change directions.
Yeah. Well, this is another guy that actually plays high out of his back pedal.
Yeah, he is stiff.
And I think, again, that kind of makes him slower in his transition, whether it's coming downhill or having to flip his hips and go. Yes. But Cooper DeJean's actually I think he's a really good athlete because
he's fast.
He's fast. We've seen it, like, if going back to this, like, scouting report, like former 4-star from Battle Creek, Ida Grove High School.
Oh man.
Yeah. But he played quarterback and defensive back in high school. He played basketball, baseball. He ran track. His parents were All-American athletes at a university I've never heard of. So fun fact.
There you go.
He's Iowa's second leading scorer in basketball for high school behind TJ Hawkinson, who it's like, what? Hawkinson's the leading scorer? That's wild. And it's funny because the basketball player there, Harrison Barnes, he's third. So you're telling me the basketball player is third on the most points in Iowa high school history behind 2 football players? You're crapping me.
Yep.
It's wild. But he was actually given a scholarship from South Dakota State to play quarterback. He was like, I think I'm going to go play defensive back over at Iowa. And I mean, I went to see some of his old high school like tape because they got some of his highlights and stuff on YouTube from when he was playing quarterback. And like he's a really good athlete. Like you saw
Yeah.
quicks, you saw a good change of direction because he was very much a running quarterback. But I really think he's a guy that probably could whatever because he played multiple sports. I think he could have been a solid. I don't want to say solid pro, but at least a solid player in any of those sports, whether he's playing like basketball at a high level in college or baseball playing in the minors. Like I think whatever path he chose, he would have been a very good player at. I think he shows very good discipline because I mean it's Iowa, you kind of have to. That's what what's the coach name? Kirk
And I have Venables just stuck in my head right now. I know it's not it.
It is not
Venables. Yeah, it is definitely not that.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, I got that one name stuck in my head.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him Coach Kirk. He's been there a long time, but he demands discipline from any of his secondary players, and it's great. He's got a great frame at 6'1", 207, 3.9 missed tackle rate. This was a guy that sometimes lined up in the box. Like he could come downhill with a head of steam and lay a tack. That's why people are talking about maybe he moves to the safety position.
Yep.
Which I think still kind of gives him a top 20 grade for me. So
yes.
And to be fair, the safety class is kind of a banger.
I know.
Man, oh man, dude. I'm a big fan. And when he comes in the league, I think he's going to have return ability, and I think he could actually probably be a gunner as well. So, like he wears a lot of hats.
Yeah. So my honestly, my issue with him is what we were talking about. I think he's going to become a safety. And he's still corner 8. It's not like he's buns. I have him as a 72 grade. That's still very impressive.
Buns.
He's not buns at all. I think that he's very stiff in terms of his 4-directional change of direction. I don't really think that he's necessarily maybe in a straight line. He's agile enough, but I don't really see that in terms of him covering receivers.
He had the fastest 100-yard dash in high school that year.
He's the second fastest graded player of all corners for me. I think he's great in a straight line, but in terms of 4-directional change of direction, I highly doubt it. But yeah, that's the one thing I note about him. This guy's a freight train. He has great size to him, and he moves as fast as any other corner not named Kamari Lassiter, who we'll talk about eventually in this class. Like, I really do think that he is a physical freak. Do I think he has the finesse in terms of being able to move every direction the way that a receiver can? No. But I think if this guy can use his speed and his size and his run stuffing ability to be a boss-ass safety, I absolutely am more than fine putting him as a first-round grade. But as a pure corner, I would give him an early day 3. And that's just because you got to be able to cover a player. And I don't really trust his ability to cover a player who's really good as a route running technician. And I don't want to put a guy in a spot where he's not really meant to be. So as a corner, I'm going to put him down the board. If I were putting him as a safety, damn right he's a first-round pick because he's a boss. He is an absolute baller.
Yeah, 3 pick sixes last year.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he could totally be a monster safety, but I just can't. Again, we're talking about corners here. So
you tell me you're number 1.
We have the same number 1. It's Kool-Aid McKinstry. The
best. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love Kool-Aid. I actually ended up watching him after Kalen King to be able to compare the two because I originally had Kalen King as a higher grade. But rather than knocking Kalen King, I ended up just saying, screw it. I'm going to boost Kool-Aid because Kool-Aid is that good. I fell in love with him even more. The more I watched him, the more I loved him. I think that he is going to be on that JPJ/Sauce territory for me. Like just somebody who really plays the cornerback position where you can see them being an absolute monster in the NFL. Sometimes they pass the eye test. He passed the eye test right away. I could say, I'm seeing that guy play on Sundays as a starting corner for the next 10 to 15 years. That's Kool-Aid McKinstry for me. He's super well balanced, very smart, just overall a very fluid athlete, very smart when it comes to when to grab, which is not something we can say about a lot of corners in college nowadays. He's just a very polished prospect, and I'll let you get into more of the nitty gritty, but I just fell in love with him right away, and fell in love with him again just a little bit over an hour ago.
Yeah, a little over an hour.
But I just rewatched him before this just to make sure.
I gotcha. So 6'1", 195, great build. He is lanky, but I mean that he's got the size to put on more weight, which he has. He actually already bulked up 7 pounds this offseason. So you love to see it. Good speed. They used him as a return man. I don't suggest it in the NFL. I mean, you don't want your top corner being a return man anyway. He had 2 months last year anyway. So let's just go ahead and just say, you know what? It's cool that you have return ability. How about you just turn that into a pick 6? We're not going to risk hurting you on a kick return or a punt return. I do think he is discreet with his hands sometimes, but when he feels like he lost a step on the or on the receiver, I think that's where he does get a bit handsy, and I don't think he needs to because he's got good enough speed to be able to make up that ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, 16, I think force miss
PBUs, 16.
Yeah, pass breakups. He only had 1 interception, but I think he could turn some of those incompletions into interceptions, and I'm looking for that this season. So yeah, no, I have a blue chip grade on him. I thought he was solid.
Yeah. I have blue chip on him and Kalen King, but I think Kool-Aid McKinstry still clears him by a good margin. I mean, both those guys are spectacular. Kalen King for his field awareness, Kool-Aid McKinstry just for everything. And I'll say something to the point of where you say he's getting a little handsy with 1 extra step lost. I think in college, because it's a 15-yard penalty and not a spot foul, they're naturally going to be taught if you lose a step, grab.
Yeah.
So rather than it's a 50-yard play, it's a 15. So
yeah, this
maybe
is
that's
Saban too. So
it's Saban too. So I think that could even be mitigated in the NFL. So easily both of our number 1 favorites, and for a very good reason.
All right. So you want to talk about anybody that just missed the list?
So Kamari Lassiter, I fell in love with this guy. Talk about a physical freak. He has the best change of direction and a long speed in the class. I think that this guy is literally just going to be your toolsy guy that you have to take a 2-year process on. He bites on certain routes that he shouldn't, and he ends up getting burned for them. But with refinement and with just overall experience, I think he's going to continue to progress and boost those coverage instincts. And to me, I'm willing to work with someone like that. He has he is heads and shoulders above every other corner in this class in terms of, the respectable ones, in terms of his athleticism. And he still is a very solid corner, just probably going to be fooled a little bit more than what a defensive coordinator would like for a starting corner day 1. But my God, if you have 1 to 2 years of time, I'm going to stamp my stamp of approval on that pick any day of the week.
Mm-hmm. So one guy I want to mention here is Kobe Bryant, not the Black Mamba, but out of Kansas, because I think athletically he might be one of the most gifted guys in this class. Back in high school, he played receiver, defensive back. He was also the return man, which no kidding, Kansas, get on your crap, man. Start having this guy return kicks, something, because he's that good of an athlete. He was a starter immediately. Had 7 starts in 2021. Then he had 11 starts last season. He did miss a game with a left ankle injury, but made first team all Big 12. Legitimate playmaker. Yep. He knows how to find the ball, search it out, and then create after. Like, that's I just think that's insane. I think it's nutty. He is a bit thin, coming in at 6 foot, 175. But again, 3rd-year player, just needs to put that weight on. So I'm hoping he does. And man, this guy's handsy as hell though. Like, I was like watching him and I was like, I can't believe this guy didn't get called for more PI. It's just really bad. I put in my notes here, like there was this going to the TCU game versus Quentin Johnston.
Yeah.
He felt like he lost a step, which sucks because this is a dude that has that like recovery speed. But the minute he lost a step, dude, he was draped all over the man. like
Yeah.
all over Quentin Johnson in the back of the end zone. Quentin Johnson still made the catch because he's
Yep.
fantastic. But yeah, I would like to see that. I'd also like to see him be a more consistent tackler. Like this, very much, he understands how small he is, and he'll
Mhm.
throw caution away. And he was like, I have to be a missile. I have to take these guys out at the legs. And it's just not a style that is consistent in the NFL.
Mhm.
So I think as he puts on more weight, he can become more of a sure tackler. But just from an athletic perspective, man, he blew me away.
Yeah. And that's somebody who I'm still getting to. So it's a TBD on my thoughts on that.
TBD.
I'm curious what you think about Kamari, because I obviously have some really high praise for him, but I'm not going to go and dive into your tape study when we can discuss
I
it
think
right
he's
here.
physical, and I think I want to see more ball skills from him. And I think in year 2 of being a full-time starter, he'll probably come out. I think he needs to put on more weight, but 180 is not a bad weight. It's just less than ideal.
Yeah. I think that's probably my biggest downside to him is the refinement and his size. But I mean, we're talking about both Kobe as well as Kamari being these elite tier athletes. When you don't have very much meat on your bones, it is a little bit easier to build up that speed. So hopefully, as these guys put more on their frame, they don't lose what really makes them special. And that's what we have this year to see.
Yeah, and I think the bigger thing is like these guys have length. They have length. They may be a little undersized as of right now, but it's not like they're small.
Yes.
Like
Yes. They're both 6 foot or close to. I mean,
yeah, I think they're both 6 foot. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah. Correct. There you go. But yeah, both of the guys, they have plenty of room to grow into, and they do have the size that can be added. It's just hopefully you don't lose the step in terms of where you're truly special. Another guy who I want to mention is Josh Newton from TCU. Great size, 6'1", 195. So very similar build to Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think that his athleticism gets the best of him. And I don't think that he has the proper speed to keep up on the boundary in the NFL unless he is going to be more of that press guy with some help over the top. Or maybe you can use him in that cover 3, cover 4. I don't think that he has that field awareness and comfortability that I've talked about with guys like Kalen King and Kool-Aid McKinstry. So I don't really trust him in anything that requires a little bit more NFL IQ or field awareness. But I think when it comes to being physical, being in the right position with the guy, being able to push him to the sideline, using the sideline as an asset, I think that he's up there with the best. And I mean, I have him above Cooper DeJean. I think that he's really awesome. I think he's a very balanced corner. I trust him in both man and zone in that aspect. But I personally just wouldn't want him to be in that like cover 2 or like maybe a cover 3 flat zone. I just would rather have him covering the sideline.
Cool. I'm just gonna mention Nate Wiggins out of Clemson.
Mm.
See, with Kobe Bryant and Nate Wiggins, those are the two guys that I'm like, if in year 2 as full-time starters, they could probably emerge as first rounders potentially. Because they're both ridiculous athletes. Nate Wiggins, another guy, long, ridiculous athlete, 6'2", 185. Just needs a little bit more season. He's already showed ball skills. He had 10 pass breakups last year. He had a pick 6, a 98-yard return pick 6, mind you. The dude's just athletically gifted, and he just needs more polish on his game. Another guy who, if he feels like he's lost a step or gets hit with a double move, he wants to put hands on and you just get a pass interference or a hold in call. And also with him in the run game, just not a consistent tackler just yet. Just doesn't have that technique. Probably should maybe put on more mass. I mean, look at 185, but it's like he's kind of a thin 185 just because that height and length. But those are the two guys I'm like, man, they could have big years. I'm just not ready yet. Just not ready to put them in there yet.
I was just checking. He is 20 years old, to be fair. I mean, he is so young, and he has plenty. I mean, even guys who were considering young, even like Tony Grimes, which I'm sure you might bring him up in a little bit. I mean, he's 22 years old, and, we're considering him young. So being able to talk about, Wiggins being able to put on the extra mass. I mean, he definitely has plenty of time to do it. I'm purposely not grading Wiggins this year because I'm going to just assume that he's going to go out. I'll eventually grade him, but I'm not going to grade him for this draft. I'll grade him for future ones because I think he's going to be a top 15 pick. I think he has flashed enough to me to earn my respect. And I don't think that, especially since we've just been talking about these guys, there's such a tight group and they can go pretty much in any order. If I were Wiggins, I would say I'm going to bet on myself, take one more year, come back and be an absolute baller, be one of those guys who is on the Kalen King, Kool-Aid McKinstry level. So that's where I'm at right there. I want you to talk about one other guy because I've been a big fan of a couple of these players. I want to hear your thoughts on Fentrell Cypress.
Cypress out of Virginia. Gotta love
You're
him.
the one who brought him up to me.
Not
So
Florida State. Well, yeah, because when I went to go watch Anthony Johnson, or I was looking at Anthony Johnson's analytics, and I was like, oh my gosh, the Cypress kid's wild. Like 9 pass breakups. Okay. And I think his completion rate allowed 45%. I was like, oh wow, this guy's a gamer. Yeah. And then I saw he was in the transfer portal. I was like, okay, this guy's going to be a hot commodity. Sure enough, goes to Florida State. It's a championship team right now, or they have the appearance of one. But he's got a nice long build. He's consistently a nuisance at the catch point. I think he mirrors receivers well because he likes to impose kind of like that physicality onto them. Legitimately, he makes it look effortless. I mean, he's at 6 foot. 182. I was kind of shocked that he was at 182. I thought he was be closer to like 190, but kind of is what it is. He plays with good anticipation. He hardly puts himself in poor positions to not make a play. I think from a technique standpoint, he is very defined, very good. He's just not like a high-end athlete. Like we kind of like bring that back up. He's just not one of these like elite level athletes. He's just kind of moderate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say like sometimes he doesn't always get his head around to make a play on the football. And that's kind of like echoed in his analytics where it's like 9 pass breakups, no interceptions. Probably there was a few balls out there that could have been at least attempted for a pick, but this dude had a 4.5 open target rate. Like if you were matched up against him, you're telling me there's only a 4% chance you were going to be able to get a step on him? Nuts.
Yeah. And that's especially factoring the fact that he's not a very good athlete. So he does use that physicality very well to the point where he can keep you. I feel like he's very self-aware of the fact he's not going to keep up in a straight line race. So he uses his strength well. And I think that unlike guys like Jason Marshall, who might over rely on it when they should probably try to rely on a little more technique, Fentrell Cypress uses it correctly. And I love Florida State DBs, so I love how they train them up there. So going from UVA to Florida State is going to be awesome because I'm just like, Penn State guys. I fall for these Florida State guys too. But those are all the guys who I have to mention. You got anybody else who you want to tip your cap to?
Oh, you know what? I want to shout out the Toledo corner real quick. Quinion Mitchell, 6 foot, 200 pounds. He was a former 3-star recruit, played running back and defensive back in high school, and didn't really get to start till 2021. And then in 2022, he became a first-team All-MAC. He had 4 interceptions with 2 pick sixes against Northern Illinois. So I was like, because I saw his analytics, I was like, 5 interceptions on the season, 13 pass breakups. I gotta go check this guy out. And granted, a lot of that came from the Northern Illinois game, but I would go watch. I think Ohio State was the only team that they faced in the Power 5, which is like, oh great, Marvin, that whole crew at freaking Ohio State. They're kind of the quarterback killer.
Yep.
So I will say, like, he's a solid enough athlete. I don't think he's a high-end athlete, but he plays the position real well. He plays it smart. Marvin Harrison did get a touchdown on him, but I thought the coverage was good. It was a very, very well-placed ball. Marvin Harrison had a nice little bit of a shove off, which it was kind of a pedestrian one. Like, if you call that, then it's like, okay, don't even let these guys play football.
Mhm.
So it was just a good move by Marvin Harrison. So I was like, you know what? Considering the competition, I thought he looked good. He didn't look overwhelmed.
Mhm.
He didn't. So just want to kind of bring his name up here. I think he's still probably a day 3 guy when it's all said and done, but definitely a guy that I hope gets to go to like a Senior Bowl or a Shrine Bowl.
Yeah. So hopefully it's the Shrine so we can go hang out with him because it's going to be in Dallas. It's going to be great.
I will try to make the trip, but I might be having a baby around that time.
Well, I will go and say hi to him for you. How about that? But I think that is going to be all. Obviously, this is going to continue being a thing. We're going to be breaking down what do you want to do next? Tackles, something like that. Tackles are what I'm best in, but we're going to bounce around. We'll find some ideas.
I'll let you pick.
We'll go tackles next. How about that? I love the offensive tackles in this class. And I already know we have really differing rankings. So you guys got to stick around for that. As we always say, always hit the like button. Feel free to disagree with us because it helps the algorithm. Also makes it very
We
nice.
love to hear your bad takes in the comment section below.
Damn. Okay. Well, you go.
Well, no, we're out here. We just gave them 40 minutes of bad takes.
That is true. 41 to be exact. But regardless, thank you guys for watching. As always, Broshmo, hit him with the outro.
Hey, go ahead. Do the YouTube thing. Hit that thumbs up. Become a bro and subscribe. Join the Draft Bros. But until next time, y'all be easy, our friends. Later.